We have no music. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Serbian Corner, a show where a couple of Serbians talk about the Nuggets on the DNVR YouTube channel and the DNVR Nuggets podcast feed. My name is Miroslav, calling from Studio P in Pančevo, Serbia. You haven't seen us together in a while I was harassing the DNVR crew with my presentations during the summer, leading up to their Serbia trip. Voja has taken a deserved vacation during the off-season. Voja, how are things in Nebraska, and how did you spend your non-basketball part of summer?
Well, yeah. Hi, everybody. From I guess Studio L in Lincoln. It was fun. I mean, it wasn't technically. I mean, I was still doing the Nugget Serbia stuff, so it was still like stuff to do, but not the corner. The presentations were funny as hell. I love when eventually when they got to Serbia, when they realized those presentations were actually all true and they thought you were joking a lot of the times. Otherwise, watching a lot of movies, shows, books, all that stuff, making up all the playoff time, because when playoffs come, I just watch basketball. So pretty fun summer, all in all, concerts and all that.
Oh, that sounds fun. That's what young people do. I remember that fondly from the far past of mine. Okay, so in case there are some new people watching and listening to this episode, what we do on this show is a weekly recap of Nuggets basketball, quick takeaways, main teams, disagreements, and everything else. And if you believe me, this is episode number 28, actually our 28th episode in this 2022. So take that, D-Line, online with D-Line. I guess he has like 5 standalone shows, but he does have some segment shows. So yeah. Well, our original plan when we started this show was let's try just to make more shows than D-Line did, and we did that like 9 months ago. So it wasn't a big milestone to reach. Okay. Let's now start with, I need some graphics here. Okay, let's now go to our rakia shot.
Ooh, let's go.
Yeah. So rakia shot. Rakia is a Serbian national alcoholic drink, usually taken before dinner to make a toast. So this segment is the quick headline, something that made impression on us quickly and strongly. And this one didn't really make a quick impression. It made an impression like when was it? 3 weeks ago, something like that, and it's still stinging. So the DNVR crew have followed Serbia Eurobasket run in depth, went together with the Serbian fans through highs and lows. That's why I don't want to speak in depth about the tournament today. For me, it was what appeared to be a good process with devastating results, but I might be wrong. But after a couple of weeks since it finished, if you had to distill this Eurobasket into one feeling, what would it be?
Well, I don't know, disappointment, dread, I guess, one of those things. Just disappointment. I mean, do you want me to expand or just give you one word and then you?
Yeah. Please expand on that.
First off, I saw the comment because I'm assuming Alexander Pavicevic was watching Serbian Corner when you were doing the presentations. There's no Excel spreadsheets when two of us are around. We talk about basketball. That was a special Serbian Corner for the guys to prepare.
Yeah, it was just harassing.
Yeah, it was just
harassment, and that's it.
Just to see how far Miroslav can push it. Disappointment, yeah, just because we expected a lot, but it's not even that we lost. Like, I don't. Ultimately, I'm fine. I'm fine. Obviously, with not winning gold, if the process was all right, and this was almost like we looked good, but it was disappointing how the coaching staff how we didn't adapt to the modern game, to our opponents, to all that stuff. So heart attack is a good one. That's why it's disappointing, because we had the pieces, we just didn't we didn't bend, we just broke, and we were like, okay, we're gonna be what we are, but nothing around. We didn't change with the flow of the tournament, and the opponents we had. So that kind of sucks. And this is like the third big loss that we've had to the similar way. So that's why it was ultimately disappointing more than anything else.
Yeah, for me, I wanted to be disappointed the most, but if I'm honest to myself, the biggest feeling I had was just sadness. And so it's like not only sadness but helplessness, if I can call it like that, because
Yeah.
you will see Adam's documentary. He's working really hard on that right now, talking about the history of Serbian basketball and Yugoslav basketball. And when you have to face the facts that you had like 34 medals during the history, although 3 of them have happened in the last 20 years, you can see the big drop off between the eras. And you have to be honest and say, yes, the Spanish basketball, for instance, don't have as long of a tradition, but what they have done in the last 20 years, it's so impressive. And even in this year's Eurobasket, when they literally brought their weakest team in years and still managed to win the gold. This is what Yugoslavia used to do.
They're the defending world and European champions.
That's right. So this helplessness and sadness is the main emotion I had. As you said, we had last three competitions we failed to win the medal. To the Olympics we didn't even qualify, and it just feels like more of a logical outcome than like bad luck struck, something like that. So we really need to face our current situation and say, okay, let's try to do the best we can, and let's mobilize all the levels of knowledge we have and try to make it work. But honestly, this sadness, this is the first time I really felt so hopeless about it, and I was like, I wasn't even mad. Like, I was mad back in 2019. I was mad last year, and this time it was like, I had a colleague calling me right after the game, and he was supposed to watch the game together with his brother-in-law and their families together, and they just stopped talking to each other. And he asked me like, what should I do, man? I never felt this way. And he's younger than me, so I get it. He is still expressing stronger emotions than I am regarding this. But okay, let's not dwell too deep into this summertime sadness.
Let's not scrape the bottom of the rakia barrel. Let's move on.
Yeah. So let's now move to something much more jovial. Let's go to the burek of the week.
Yeah, contrary to what Adam thinks, this is a good food.
Yeah, he has no idea. I mean, I give him a pass because he likes so much of Serbian food. And okay, you can not like one thing out of it. I think he wasn't prepared because it was his first meal. So he was maybe facing a cultural shock of some sort. Maybe if he tried it like on the 4th day, it would be a different kind of emotion. But okay.
It's all good. He still that knocks him in the Jokić fan standings because he doesn't like burek. So now he's like a class below.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's true.
Yeah, you're right. So burek is a nice juicy pastry.
Those are the
dish.
rules. You can't. It's the rules. We didn't make them up.
That's right. They're just written here. So what we're gonna do?
Yeah.
So burek is a nice juicy pastry dish that comes either with cheese, spinach, or meat, and it's well known because Nikola Jokić used to eat it a lot when he was younger, around the time he was turning pro. So this segment is the best thing of the week, what we liked the most, what was the juiciest storyline, performance, or a whole game. Basically, our high calorie count topic we liked the most. And for our burek of the week, let's discuss the rotation coming out of the training camp. Mm-hmm. The starters seems to be set in stone. I don't think there's any discussion there. So we have Jamal, KCP, Porter, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokić. It's one of the most expensive starting fives in basketball, slated to be paid $130 million just for this upcoming season. So you kind of need to
Awesome.
play these guys.
Yeah.
So we have heard reports from the Nuggets training camp that the second unit was originally Bones, Bruce Brown, Davon Reed, Jeff Green, and DeAndre Jordan. And that is a very experienced second unit. In the previous seasons, I would say that my hope was that both Christian Brown and Zeke Naji would assert themselves into the rotation from game one, thanks to the awesome training camp, yada, yada. And there's still a chance we'll see them in the real rotation in some of the upcoming preseason games. But to be honest, I kind of like this veterans approach to both starters and second unit to the start of season. I'm willing to give a fair chance to DeAndre Jordan because he seems to have the trust of both the front office and coaching staff, but also he seems to be well liked, by his new teammates. Having young guys developing in your pipeline is a great thing, and I'm glad Bones used the huge chance he has got last season due to injuries. But at some point, you need to have the structure in place from day one if you want to have the chance to rest your recovering guys and still stay in the driver's seat, as Paul George likes to say, for a high seed throughout the regular season. Having said all that, I still doubt DeAndre Jordan will keep his rotation spot throughout the season and especially in the playoffs, but we'll see. So my question, how do you feel about the reported planned rotation, after the training camp?
I mean, you're right. I agree with the veteran thing, and you said Christian Brown and Zeke, and those obviously are the spots they can be challenged because it's Devon Reed, Christian Brown, and DeAndre Jordan, Zeke Naji on the 5. So it's interesting. You say also this is like a comparison coming up that no one expected. So the DeAndre Jordan. I mean, we talk about him. He has a job, and everyone's like, how the hell does he have a job? Like he's not good, hasn't been like that great all these years. And Boogie Cousins been great last year, and every time he plays, he's like good, but he doesn't have a thing. So I would compare him to like a very liked, not that great of an actor in Hollywood when somehow like they're still working and they're like obviously the biggest star of like that is Keanu Reeves. Like he's not going to give you The Godfather, but he'll give you a really fun like Point Break or a small cameo in like a rom-com that just he plays a parody of himself because he's such a cool dude. And off the court, obviously everyone likes him. So everyone was like, cool, let's work with him again. Like he's an awesome guy. Again, I watched a lot of movies this summer. So I think this is the case with DeAndre Jordan because all the stuff that he's been talking about, all these training camp interviews and stuff, I'm surprised how personable he is and interesting. And he talks about Jokić with, in great light, and they went to the to the baseball game, all of it. It's just like he likes Mike Malone. He liked the honesty that he got to the training camp. So I'm also willing to give him a chance, even though I was like scoffing at the fact we signed him and I couldn't believe it. But there was a reason he was still in the NBA, like him, and proved to be like the locker room thing. As far as on the court, finally we have 12, 13, 14 even players that we can rotate over, so I'm not worried. And I like the fact that we had first a veteran lineup, and I'm ready for the repeat of that 18-19 season when we just opened the season with like 11-2 and kept going to the number 2 seed. I want that stability of like we can win these games even if we're not great. Like there's no doubt in some of these games, even if we're down like 5 minutes left, that we can easily win this. Not like Jokić has to score 15 out of 15 for the overtime and fourth quarter to win. So I'm really excited. And again, there's potential for younger guys to step up. It's not a closed door on them. Like both Christian Brown and Zeke Naji shouldn't be, they probably aren't and shouldn't be depressed that they're not in the second unit immediately because there's room for them to go in there. So that's also like a nice avenue for them to go.
We have comments here about Zeke maybe playing the backup 5 in a small ball unit, and
he's not that small
honest,
either.
It's not that small, and in the second units you usually don't have a 7-footer as your backup 5 anyway. So in most cases, Zeke should be able to play against big guys in the second unit, especially because he, as his agent really was really careful for us to get the information. He got another 10 pounds of pure explosion, pure muscle.
Wow. Media day bingo. Let's go.
That's right. So he won that battle as well. So basically, I think it's a really it should be a pretty good option behind DeAndre Jordan, especially if he doesn't pan out really well. What I like about DeAndre Jordan here is the fact that last year the Nuggets started the season with no backup five whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
They were trying to play with the
greens,
Dos Verdes, the greens. And it really didn't work well, especially because they were supposed to play with Facundo Campazzo, who is a traditional point guard who really needed a rolling big man that he didn't have. So this time around, at least we have an option of DeAndre Jordan, even if he sucks on defense, and I guess he will suck because his lateral movement is not as good as it used to be back in his All-Star seasons. I think he still can be a pretty useful roll man and a vertical threat to back up units. And still, you don't need him for more than 10, 12, 14 minutes per game. So that should be, it's good that the Nuggets do have this option. I still think that they will move to Zeke Nagy at some point for sure, but to have an option. And, the season is so long, you really need those 15, 16 guys. Unfortunately, we will not have Colin Gillespie for the majority of this season. But let's say we can count right now on 16 guys, and that's good. And I don't think, maybe outside of Peyton Watson, I don't see a guy on the Nuggets roster that's like unplayable. I mean, I have no idea about Peyton Watson.
But I get what you mean. It's like he's most probably like on the depth chart, like the farthest down, just on the raw, and also the position and like the experience and all that. What you said also about differences from last year and this year, just the two greens, but again, their baggage of them not playing a center for the longest time and also not playing together in the same way. Zeke is not that far removed from college where he played the center and didn't even shoot that many threes. Yeah. And Nuggets kind of tried to basically reinvent him in the NBA for the needs that they had with Michael Porter's injury. But now when that's not the case, now the need is at 5. He can go back to more of a natural position. And it's one of those things like, maybe Zeke feels more natural at a 4. And it looked decent last year with him and Boogie. But he will get, like, if he's getting guarded by traditional 5s or a little smaller dudes or slower dudes, he might have more time to set up for the 3. Like, he won't have to rush it, although he was like scorching hot whenever he was open last year. And then also rolling with someone like Bones now at this time, like he has, he can finish hopefully with this 10 pounds of muscle a little stronger and not have to pump fake, lay up, all that stuff. You can just actually just be open and dunk. So I can see him being like the DeAndre Jordan, like young light version of that old Jordan with the Clippers. So we'll see. I mean, I like the idea of the whole flexibility situation. Like,
yeah, we have a question here from Dragutin. Is Kamagate coming over in December, January? No, the plan is for him to stay in France for another season and then come back for the summer league next season. And
that would be really, I don't even know if they can, but it would be really unusual to bring him halfway through the season. So
sure. I mean, you have to honor the contract he already has in France. Exactly. So if it was already that was the decision, and that's it.
As Alexander said, they don't have the open spot even also. So like they would have to do
It's possible to free up the roster spot at some point, but not for Kamagate, probably for somebody who's already in the NBA. Okay, so are there any other takeaways you have about this let's say the depth chart of the Nuggets? So if we speak about the bench of Bones and Reed and Bruce Brown and the old guys, Green and DeAndre Jordan. So who do you think are the guys that have the best chance of substituting in for the backup for the second unit?
Oh, you said third? You mean third string?
Oh, from the third stringers.
Well, I mentioned I think Christian Brown for Devon Reed, maybe, like, depending on, again, also he's younger and everything. So he might have a chance to take over again. Obviously, if there's any injuries in the first unit, let's assume everyone's healthy. So, and then Zeke for DeAndre, or even Zeke for Jeff at some point. But I really do have, like, I'm really interested in, again, how the season progresses and the fact that they have a veteran team, even how that first unit goes. Like, we saw Jeff was really good with the first unit. I wonder at some point if he comes in for Michael Porter. Like, it's terrifying, and I don't know if we want to talk about it now, but just the fact that they looked so nice with him, and he knew how to use everything that Michael didn't. I wonder at some point if they're struggling, if they're not gonna cut the cord of like, hey, this is not working, we're gonna give up on this kid. But like, if he would be better in the second unit with Bones and just flying all over the place and doing them more like more like hooper basketball than what Jokić and the guys are doing. So I'm really curious because I loved what Jeff Green could do, and we've seen him what he could do in the second unit, which wasn't a lot in that rotation. So that's one thing. Of course, Bones, everyone, the hype is really through the roof with him, and I really can't wait if all that pans out to get a guy that can just torch it. Like, comes in and you give him the ball. There's no Monte with him to be the floor general of like, hey, we're gonna run sets, we're gonna calm this. If they can just give him the ball and then run simple sets and just go off, like, how is that too? Yeah, because he doesn't seem like the guy that's get bothered by pressure. Like, he's so cheerful and kind of just off the cuff with everything that I think he'll be just cool. Like, I'll get 20 shots, like whatever, not 20, but like I can get a bunch of shots in the second unit. Obviously, the fact that Bruce Brown was bringing the ball up, I like that idea as well. Just to have so Bones doesn't have the ball in entire time and gets worn down. Have someone else like doing it, and of course my guy, Mr. Nugget, the Monte, like crowned him, like basically like trained him to go. Devon Reed. I'm really curious. I know Brown is knocking on the door in that position, but I think in this case, like what Reed showed last year and how impactful he was, in my opinion, pretty decently, even when he was not that great on defense on specific guys. This way, I think he'll have actual position to play, and his knockdown shots are an interesting factor in that second unit. He could be like the KCP light in that second unit. The corner threes, guarding, just his type of player. So just it's exciting. I have them, like we were doing Nuggets on a Nugget Serbia podcast. We're doing NBA previews today of the. We'll do the Pacific and north to west next week. But in my lineups, I have them as number one seed in the West and in the NBA. So like, my hype is, it's not even just like I'm hyping it, and objectively I can also look and get the avenue and be like, hey, I think we could do this. Honestly, even if Michael Porter doesn't pan out the way everyone wants, if he does, I think we can just blow the roof off the league. But even if he does, if he doesn't, and he's just like a regular shooter type guy that kind of comes in, gets a few shots, and doesn't impact the game that much as we hope, I think we have enough depth that they can compensate, like not with his shooting, but with just like other aspects of the game that like similar impact. So we'll see. I mean, I can't wait. We're like 18 days away. Like, it's awesome.
What you mentioned about Michael Porter maybe stepping out of the starting lineup, I mean, we don't really think he wouldn't be a starter at some point of this season. I mean, of course, if he's healthy and everything. It's more like if you try to stagger him more with second unit,
that's what I mean. Not like actually,
you have like Jeff Green playing a lot of minutes with the starters because of that. And honestly, yes, I agree. Jeff Green is a proven good option with the starters. But one guy that really intrigues me is Bruce Brown playing with the starters, because if he develops the chemistry with Jokić, I think he could develop. I mean, that would be awesome. If you would have two screeners for Jokić in Jamal and Bruce Brown, that would be just a dream come true. Yeah. And imagine all of those wide open shots for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, or all of those empty dunks for Aaron Gordon. It's really intriguing. And if I always think about the defensive side of the starting five or the five on the court, it's not so much important what your guys play on offense regarding positions, but on defense you have to be able to guard all five
Yeah,
positions
exactly.
on the other side. And when you have Bruce Brown and KCP, who are both, I mean, KCP is a pretty big guy. He used to play small forward for Washington a lot, and now you have Bruce Brown who basically guards everybody from 1 to 5. Doesn't matter.
Yes, I
who
mean,
they,
we saw what Gary Payton did for Golden State last year, how much
yeah.
he meant to them, and like I wouldn't be surprised if similar impact is shown with Bruce Brown. Like it's not out of the question. Everyone's excited about that signing. We'll see. Might not work out. Who knows? But it's very interesting. I mean, certainly, and you're right with the closing instead of Michael Porter. Sometimes that's your defensive unit, because then Jamal doesn't have to guard your best players on the other best guards on the other side. You have even two guys. So if it's really, I mean, because we can get carried away because when we start going hypotheticals and like imagine this, imagine that, there's really are like this time a lot more compared to like this time last year. Like, there's a lot more options than like, oh, just throw it to Jokić. Just in my opinion, of course, it's gonna end. Starts and ends with you throw it to Jokić even when Jamal's there, but there are more options. And I think like I'm like how the depth looks. I'm really excited because it does remind me of the experience and that like second year after Millsap was here, just when when we barely didn't make the playoffs, but then next year just came out. Even wasn't that great of a start as like aesthetically, but they were just winning, and because it was so deep, like Jokić would come out, it wasn't that great of a shape. He would come out, that wouldn't matter. We had depth to maintain this, and then of course. When it comes to that, when you talk about Jokić getting out, that second unit ended up beating the starters. So in that scrimmage yesterday, so at least there's some game to them. It's not like obviously like it's a scrimmage. We're not gonna go into it too deep, but like again, Bones, he's like a guy that he wants to. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to attack that 6-man of the year, like for real. And then most improved, it's harder because the second year, but 6-man, I wouldn't be shocked if he gets that, and if Denver is good as we think they can be. So exciting times.
Team is as loaded as it was ever been. I mean, you remember those times when you had Manimal and you had like guys like Ill Will. So you had older guys with pretty big contracts you were not using a lot, and the roster wasn't optimized. Right now, when you look at the 5 starters earning all that money, and then you have the reserves with pretty good reputation and really good players, so the Nuggets are loaded. And what we need to remember is they will not be healthy, all of them, throughout the season. There will be many injuries, like there always are. But it's a good thing to have like 15, 16 guys you can really count on during the season and really feel good. I mean, if you have a stretch of 10 games where you have to play Vlatko Čančar at the 4 as a backup 4, you feel fine with that. I mean, I feel fine with that for sure. We haven't mentioned him yet, even, and that's like the third stringers with some really good quality. What about Ish Smith? Do you have any expectations from Ish Smith?
No, I mean, I think he's experienced enough that I don't think he'll be like, oh, I have to play. Because you're right. We haven't mentioned him. I completely spaced on him as that, like, we talk about people that can bring up the ball in someone secondary when we lost with Monte and Will. But yeah, Bones and Bruce Brown, being able to dribble the ball is big. Man, I mean, again, Ish Smith, serviceable. I think he's your type of Facu from last year. Not a playmaker, but like down the hill. He knows his job. Like, it's, again, one of those guys, like, it's not an accident he's been in the NBA for so long. Like, there's so many guys that seemingly are more talented that are not, or they dropped out of the league much quicker than he has. He's still in. I mean, it's so you can't deny that there's something there. And the fact that they haven't like fired him when they traded for him, they didn't waive him, gives me like at least the comfort that like Malone is comfortable then with the roster, that he has that break glass in case of emergency, and the circumstances aren't like Facu when he came over, and he sacrificed a lot to come over. So you even like on like a human level, you feel bad not playing him. With Schmidt, like he's traded, he knows the job. He can be the third stringer, come in when you need him to fill in some minutes, and that's it. Like
I actually think that Ish Smith is a very dynamic player for a third stringer, but there is a reason why he is a third stringer now. He's not a 3-point shooter at all.
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
also like one of the worst free throw shooters from the back from the guard position in history of NBA basketball. It's crazy. He's like a 60% free throw shooter throughout his career, something like that. I saw that and I was like, what? But luckily, I don't think he will have more than one free throw per game, I guess. So that shouldn't be.
I like that. Dragutin had the comment, Ish is a controlled player. I love that. I mean, he's on the control. Like that's your class of below Monte in years and shooting. Just like you at least know that again, because of what I said, like he's been in the league for a long time. He knows what to do. Like, so you have that in case of emergency situation because again, you lost a few playmakers. And again, we talked about, you said optimized, and they agreed with you in the comments. It is optimized, and it's optimized around Jokić. So of course, if he's not playing, it's a completely different story. That obviously like different types. So who knows what would happen if he doesn't play? So I'm not feeling comfortable saying they're so good that even if Jokić doesn't play, they can still be competitive for a playoff spot. They should with all the max guys, but we haven't seen that yet. So I'm not commenting on predicting that we can be good if Jokić doesn't play for some period of time. But I wouldn't be surprised if we were good because there is enough pieces to that they can actually be like step up a little bit more than some previous years.
Okay. I think we've covered most of the roster
most
right
rotation.
Now.
Yeah.
And let's now jump into something more spicy. Something more spicy like what a fish stew, spicy fish stew can be. So we finally got the DNVR crew in Sombor to try the legendary fish stew over there. And it is a traditional delicacy of the northern Serbia, where Sombor is located. And it is a starter meal. Dinners both Nikola Jokić and I love, so we have that in common. And by the looks of it, most of the DNVR crew loved it as well. Like
I would want to
2 plates
subject him to a polygraph
stew.
and ask him that. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Dev took 2 plates of fish stew on my eyes. I mean, why would he do that?
Okay.
Yeah, he was sitting right next to me. Okay, so on the other hand, Voja is not a fan of fish stew. Just like I wasn't before. I had some really top-notch fish stews in recent years.
That's true. I think I had. a lot of my family is from North Serbia, so I've had, when they make it like in that, old school, like with the cauldron and everything. So like I'm still not fast. I like the goulash for venison goulash. Like that's my jam. The spicy meat that cooks all day and all that.
Well, goulash is the same thing. You just use like what's the word? The game like
venison.
Like
yeah, well, I was saying venison just because it's deer meat, but game meat.
Game meat. Yeah,
like
it can be veal as well,
or rabbits,
or pork, or yeah. All of that. They usually use like half meat from the domestic animals and then half from the hunted animals to make it right. Okay, so anyway, what this segment is about is something we might disagree about.
Yes.
Now, we haven't discussed this before the show, so I'm taking a leap of faith, expecting you to disagree with my hot take.
I think I saw a little bit into the notes, just bolded. I think I will disagree.
So okay, so I have to be really careful here because I don't want to sound like a hater. So I expect for Jamal Murray to have a horrible start to the season. Now, let me give a caveat to that. Compared to what most fans expect.
Okay, so we gotta lay it out in some numbers and stuff. What does that mean?
Yeah, so
because some fans expect him to come out and go 30 a game and stuff like that's. I'm not saying that. Like
that's right.
So what's
we should delve into not last season because he didn't play there, but the season before that in 2020, 2021. In December and January, and if you remember, the season started around Christmas. So those were the first month and a half of the season. he averaged only, and I say only, 18.9 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists per game on 45, 35, 78 shooting. So not too bad for a second option, but the efficiency was very average at best.
So you think worse than that?
Yeah, I think slightly worse than that. But let me give you the second part of that season. So after that, he averaged 22.5, 4.1, which remained the same, and 5.1 assists per game on amazing 49, 44, 92 shooting splits. Those are like prime Steve Nash splits. So amazing shooting splits. Of course, this is the Jamal we want to see. And I really think we will see that by the end of the season. But we've never seen that to the start of any of his seasons before. So if you add to that the getting up to speed after the long injury recovery, and I just don't, I will not be surprised to see some pretty frustrating games from him. Like, I don't know. You remember his rookie season? He had like 0 from 16.
Yeah, he was. I remember.
I don't expect that.
No,
but there might be some really subpar efficiency games from him, and I just want to say I expect that, and I don't want anybody to panic about it. That's my reason.
Fair.
But do you agree with my take?
No. I'm looking through some comments because Ray says 16 in game. Yeah, that's someone says I wouldn't mind. I'm okay with 15, 5, and 3. Nana said as far as she can see, Jamal is still selfish. I don't know how you saw that from training camp. Was like 3 videos. But I don't know. I mean, maybe that's like a thing sometimes in Serbia that people think that he wants to be the main guy in the team, and so he's like always selfish. So I don't know. I think. So what's your thing? Like, is it 15-5-3 kind of?
Listen, I really don't mind like 15-5 and 3.
No, but what's your what's your kind of
if that's
range?
on good efficiency. But if he's shooting like 40, 32, and 70 splits, that would be a concern to me. I mean, it still wouldn't be a concern because I expect that, and I expect that to ramp up, on time.
Exactly. So your thing is you expect some numbers around 15 mostly, with like
mostly the efficiency, because you have so much firepower. You don't need more than 15 points from him, really.
Yeah, of course. But it's like Porter, as I said, like you need, if you can be like Monte at first, that's very serviceable because then you have your hierarchy of other players that can also add whatever. I think he's going to be more. I think he starts because a lot of those caveats, like he started off obviously rookie season was weird anyway, but that 18 with like so efficiency was after the bubble. We know the circumstances and like the kind of burnout that happened in the bubble, and he kind of came in. I'm like, I got to do the job, and then like he ramped it up of like reminded himself, and got through. I believe because he hasn't played for so long that he's really hungry, and not in a way I'm just going to shoot 20 shots. I think he comes out really, really. I mean, not hot scorching is like 25 a game. I think he's going to be closer to 20 than 15, based on like his just the appetite. And I know everyone's like he's tapering expectations. Everyone else is. I also think like how the seasons usually go. They don't. The first like 2 out of 3 games, first 3 games is Jazz and OKC. So. And Golden State. So like you can skip Golden State and play those because it's back to back, and play the other 2 worst ones, and he can get off like 30 a game in those. So I believe that, and I think just because he hasn't played in so long, like he'll approach this as the bubble. I think how the bubble was like just a lot of non-playing time. I'm like, I need to do this. So I think I'm more on the disagreement side of like I think he'll be better than you think, but maybe not as good as some people think that he comes out with like a bubble numbers of like 70, 90 or whatever he had like in those games. So I think it
was against Utah, to be fair.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fair. So I'm closer to like the season before, even like that wasn't technically great, but it was 18 on like 45%. I'm like, I think I'm closer to that than 15 and like 45.
Okay, I have a question. So can you imagine a situation where he is averaging less points than Bones in first 2 months on worse efficiency, and some fans screaming, "Bring Bones as a starter instead of Jamal." Can you imagine that scenario? Like
Oh, I
Bones
mean,
having a scorching hot start to the season.
well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Bones goes off. I wouldn't also be surprised if Bones really fizzles out in the first month because he's so hyped. But again, let's go with the scenario you said. He scorches. Jamal is like your typical bad start Jamal, and nothing surprising, man. Like people are quick to turn on anyone. So turning on a guy that those haters that were talking about him, why is he not coming back for the playoffs? He's like a weak guy, like he doesn't want to come back. He didn't do the rehab well. He's lazy, all that. Like those guys would be the first ones to come out and go like Bones is better, just start Bones. So I can see it. I wouldn't agree with it at all, but I can see it. I can see it happening. Like not even like surprisingly. Wouldn't even be surprised if. I don't think he gets booed at home. I was gonna go that far. I don't know if he gets booed off the court because I think that he has that bubble that still there's a lot of credit, and just the fact that he was hurt playing for the team and just how the vibes with him and Jokić. Like I think he's not Will Barton type. Like I think he has a little bit more than to get booed from his home fans right as he's coming back like 2 months. 2 months.
No, he is a much higher level player than Will Barton. Will Barton, unfortunately, is in that category of players where it's easiest to get to be a scapegoat. If you're not good enough to really be a starter, but you have to be there because there's nobody else in your place. So yeah, I don't think having Jamal to be a scapegoat this season. Michael Porter, who knows?
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, someone's has to be. I saw Ray had a good comment. I imagine calls for them to start together. I can see that if also KCP, if what you said with the combo, like KCP is also not performing. He's performing like bad Gary Harris years. Jamal is struggling a little bit to start the season, and then Bones is torching. I would see what Ray is saying that people would call for Jamal Bones backcourt start first before actually to sub in for Jamal. So that's a good one.
Okay, so we are mostly
so
on
much
the
for
same
disagreement.
page.
But it's this. I mean, we disagree. Like I think he's going to be much better than Miroslav thinks. Like I'm more on it's closer to 20. In like over 45% shooting than Miroslav thinks. So
maybe this is just the residue of Eurobasket feelings. So I'm preparing myself on a very low point, like 40, 32, 75 shooting from him. And if I expect that and it happens, it will not feel too bad to me. And anyway, I think even with that kind of level of play from him, I think Nuggets would be still fine. They just need to hold all of their horses together. Okay.
I want to comment. Yeah. Tommy had both Murray and MPJ have pressure on them as max players. That's what comes to money. I agree. I would just also add there's a little bit of a difference there because Jokić is the main guy. So even though there is pressure on them, I still think like there's just inside the locker room, like there's not as much as maybe we think there is. Because it's not Paul George, Kawhi Leonard coming back from injuries and our max players, and you expect them to carry it. This is even like the role players around Jokić that are now, besides Murray and MPJ, they're still good enough with Jokić, even though these guys can struggle to be good enough to get to Denver to the playoffs. So I think like internally they're just like, hey, just bring what Monte brought. MPJ is basically whatever he brings as a bonus from last year because we didn't have that type of player anyway. So I think those are in that case favorable situations. But I agree that with the max label, there's a lot of pressure.
Yes, I agree with that, and we'll move back to. I will circle around once more on Will Barton when we go around the association at the end of the show. But now I have to make an announcement. So before we continue, this is one of the last, if not the last, show of Serbian Corner. Okay, so not because we are leaving.
I'm laughing because someone said like,
believe
Serbian Corner every Saturday. Yeah,
we are not. It's because we want to rebrand a bit soon, And with that, we will introduce some new segments. And the first one I want to give you a sneak peek into is the Nuggets stat of the week. Yeah, I know.
Boom, boom,
I know.
boom.
So super original. So nobody, I have no idea how nobody thought of it before. Nuggets stat of the week. So every week I will try to find a stat nobody is brave enough to talk about, or more realistically, a stat so bizarre nobody wants to talk about it anyway. So I will just use the flirty dozen graphic for this because it will be kind of a question for you.
Okay.
Did you know that in the last regular season, one player missed team worst 89 free throws, had team worst 281 turnovers, which was more than double than the second placed worst on the team, had team worst 191 personal fouls, and also missed team worst 547 field goals? This player was not fans' scapegoat Will Barton. It was, in fact, the two-time NBA
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
MVP
Jokić, right?
and ESPN's second best player in the world, Nikola Jokić. And that's I mean, it's funny
Because it's
to
the
say
volume,
that.
right? It's a lot,
It's just the
amount of
sheer volume. It's like, I think Michael Jordan is the guy with the most missed shots in the history of the league. It's probably LeBron, to be honest, right now, because LeBron has played in so many more games comparing to
Get
Mike.
back to MVP.
Mike was like by far the guy with the most missed shots in history of the league. But you need to miss a lot of shots to get a lot of shots. So
especially at the guard,
yeah. So
that's
yeah,
funny. I know. As soon as you said free throws, I'm like, I think it's in turnovers. I'm like, I think that's Jokić. Because it's volume, right? It's not the percentage of the free throw percentage or something. It's just the sheer number.
I also thought he would be pretty bad in assist to turnover ratio, but actually he was pretty good. He wasn't like top 5, but he was pretty good. But that's a talk for another episode, hopefully soon. So for the very end of this show, tell me what non-Nuggets things are you looking forward the most for the upcoming season? Like which teams, which players, which maybe possible implosions that are on the horizon. And I would like to start with the Washington Wizards, because they're in Japan right now together with Golden State Warriors. And our guy Joel Rush had some nice interviews with Monte Morris. And interesting thing happened. Will Barton wasn't playing on the first game. And so he asked Monte, is Will okay? Yeah, he's okay. Don't worry about it. It's just a preseason game. He has some kind of soreness somewhere, and we don't want to risk anything. And man, I don't miss that. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
That was such an often discussion about will be ready for the start of the season, or will he be able to play through January or something like that. So, are you excited to see Monte in his new role as a starter?
I am. I mean, as a resident Monte champion. Yes, I am. That's like my one. Like I'll probably watch them a lot. We did Nugget Serbia today, and the Wizards were on the docket. One of the teams we talked about, and I put them very low. I mean, they're like 11th on at the East in my opinion. Just they're weird. Like they have young top 10 picks that might not play. Now it's like Barton question again with will he start or not? Should he start or not? But I'm looking forward to watching Monte. And again, they might have a thing of like, we're gonna watch him first month, and then I might tune out because it's just unbearable. Especially watching him with Porzingis together, it's gonna be sad to me. Otherwise, but my number one thing I'm looking forward to once I declared again earlier. I was recording and I get through about it. I declared Pelicans as my number 2 team this year. I have those rotating. I love have Nuggets number 1 and just see which ones interest me for number 2. Last year was Memphis. And Memphis is still there with I love Kenny Lofton Jr. So I want to see if he plays. If he plays, Memphis might be number 1. Screw the Nuggets. But Pelicans, I just liked what they did last year, and I love their coach. That was one of the best coaching jobs, even with whatever whatever teams we're talking about. Even last year, I'm counting even the Golden State. That first round was such a nice nice round against Phoenix Suns, and it was a lot of chess moves that I liked. So that was pretty dope. And Zion looks better, so that's going to be interesting. And they have now they have CJ for a full year, and again, they're not. I don't assume they're going to start 1-13 like last year. So that because after that they were really good. Like when you count out those 14 games. So I'm really excited. Yeah, I was joking. I mean, if anyone was like thinking when I said screw the Nuggets, because I love Kenny Lofton Jr. So that was like just a joke. If he ends up starting for Memphis, I would have to like re-examine my loyalties because I love him so much. But obviously he's a two-way player. He's not going to start. So what about you? What's your look ahead?
I want to see Orlando Magic, how they look like.
Nice. Yeah,
they have a really interesting roster, and I don't think they will be very good, but they have some really really fun players over there. So I want to see that. I also want to see some teams that I don't think that will be really good this season, like Memphis Grizzlies, who I loved last season up until it felt they became too good. So I'm not supposed to like them anymore. Yeah. But the I don't know when the JJJ will return.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the big problem for them, and they also lost a couple of really reliable guys in Slow-Mo and what's the other guy? The
Melton.
Melton to Philadelphia. So yeah, I think they might drop from they were like number 2 seed last season. So I could see them dropping all the way to 6 or 7 this season. I mean, it's not a really fun answer to say, but Minnesota Timberwolves should be really really interesting to watch. I don't know how fun it will be, especially because there are some guys over there we don't really love. But on the other hand, if you have a fun brand of basketball and something that's not being played anywhere else, that's also a wrinkle I enjoy watching. Do you have a team in mind that could be much worse compared to last season? Maybe
you said Memphis. I have them at 6. They were really really high last year. Just again, you said JJ and just the hierarchy of, because they have people in place that could step up. It's just that at this point, looking at it, you lose Slow-Mo, you don't have a guy that replaces him. But then maybe how people played in summer league, you think maybe there's someone that steps up. So in that case, there could be, but again, they're worse than obviously that they are. Phoenix a little bit. I think I had them 4th in the West. That's obviously. I mean Utah, but we're not counting Utah and San Antonio.
No,
I do have Charlotte much worse than they are projected. They have over 30 something wins for the over unders. I have them as 14th in the East, tanking basically, they're shutting down LaMelo quick and kind of going. But on paper, they're still a weird okay team, but losing a bunch of guys to weird legal stuff, or not weird, despicable stuff, and then Harold gets signed. Okay, well, it's weird. Okay, Miles Bridges obviously horrible. With Harold, it's just weird because amount of weed is on one hand it's legal in a lot of places, but 3 pounds of it in your car, that was a weird thing. So especially with us or Serbia, it's not legal. So in Nebraska it's not legal. So I'm it's still weird in my brain to level that. But those 2 guys, I mean, those were pretty big for them. Could have been very big for them. New coach again, all that stuff. So I think they're going to be much worse than last year.
One thing
with a similar roster.
One thing that's really big for the Nuggets seed before the playoffs might be the fact that they have both Utah and OKC in their division.
That's 4.
So those should be 8 guaranteed wins. And I will say before the season, I really hope the Nuggets get all of those 8 wins, because those 2 teams are gonna tank strongly, and it will be a real disappointment for me.
So almost would be disappointment if they win all 8 and not over 10 every one of them.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that take as well. How do you feel about Bojan Bogdanović in Houston?
In Detroit.
Oh, sorry, Detroit. That's what I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, they're also weird. Like they were also for me the worst team to put on my standings because I don't know what the hell they want, like what to do, because they have all these young guys they can play, but if they do, I don't think they have enough quality and experience to be higher up than 13. But then they signed Bagley, they have now Boyan as a vet, they have Isaiah Stewart now, Duran is a young guy, so like you have Ivy and Cade, but then you now have Boyan and Sadiq Bey is there. Like again, Kevin Knox they signed for more than a minimum. Marvin Bagley, like I don't know what they are gonna play. So I'll see within the first week basically. Like are they gonna try to want to be competitive, or they're still kind of in the limbo trying to get some picks? Because I don't know what they would be waiting for because they got Cade. Like I don't like kind of like what you said about Orlando. Like they should be attacking a lot more. I just don't think they can do much. Like
The start of the season is really important, and Matt Moore likes to say this, but like after first couple of months of the season, you can already see the 8 teams that are competing for the playoff places. Now it's more complicated because you have the play-in, so for all the teams from 7 to 10,
yeah.
it's a bit more complicated. But in most seasons, you can get the glance of which teams are not at all competing for playoffs and which teams are serious for that. So I really hope the Nuggets will put their pedal to the metal right from the start.
Yeah, I agree.
And show the rest of the league that they're the real deal. So on that high note, let's end this show.
Number 1 seed in the NBA.
We promise you guys we'll see you next weekend. Again, I don't know if it will be still Serbian Corner, but see you in more or less 7 days.
7 days.
Have a nice one.
Have a nice one. Idemo Nuggets.